Alexa, you want to start us off?
Sure. I think today we're going to be talking about setting some intentions and expectations for business, and trying to do that so that you've got a good foot to set forward and a path to follow and some success to be had. So
that's great. Thanks, Alexa. Yes, I'm Sherry Tolbert, and I'm with Tolbert CPA, if you don't know me already. We've been talking about some foundational pieces to put in place for your business so that you can make all that effort worth something. You know, a lot of us have worked and worked and worked, and you want to get to the point where it starts, where there's a harvest and things start working and the machine is rolling forward the way that it should. And I don't care what point of your business you are in. You can be in a huge conglomerate or a teeny tiny just started business. It's all about getting the habits going. It's all about repeating those patterns and going back and checking and make sure you're doing everything right. It's just like trying to keep the weight off, you know? You want to keep walking, you want to keep watching the food, you want to keep making sure you don't have too many treats, that kind of thing. It's that with the business, because you want your business to work well for you. Okay, so Alexa, I'm going to share the screen. And what we'd like to do, how do I share the screen for some reason? Where is my... Here we are live. Okay. Okay. You can have a business and you don't have to be perfect. Isn't that wonderful? That was the most freeing thing for me. Let's see. Let's try this. Okay.
There we go.
I think I'm sharing my screen, and
just want to make sure that everybody can see the slide that says webinar Wednesday, June 30th.
Yep, it looks good.
Yay.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. All right, so a key part of running your business is to be able to know what you're going to do if something happens ahead of time. It's just like when we were kids in elementary school and we did a fire drill. And if we hadn't done a fire drill, kids might have run around screaming. They might have left the lights on, left the doors open. The teacher wouldn't have known where all the kids were when they got outside. One kid might have stayed in the bathroom. So they did a fire drill. And mostly it was teaching us to think through, if you hear that bell, then you're going to follow these instructions. You know what to do. You're confident. You're comfortable. You can't stop the fire, but you can behave in the way that is going to give you the best results and the group best results. So that's what we're trying to do with our business, is to set out some intentions and expectations. So if something happens or as things are going on, we know how we want to ahead of time react and how we want others around us to react. I don't want to be running to the bathroom to find out if somebody's cowering in the corner. We need everything to be moving, including myself. You know, it's easy to have a bad day, but when that fire bell rings, you know to do what you're supposed to do. Walk in an orderly line outside. So that's what we're working on, and trying to help you get the tools to get that done in your business. So whether it's a great thing or something that's a little harder, that you're ready and it goes the way you want it to as much as possible. All right. So we're going to go over a little bit of what we've talked about in prior webinars, in the last few, because those are the stepping stones to get this foundation in place. The first thing we've talked about is to get your accounting system going. And we highly recommend a real-time accounting type system where your accounting's being done. It doesn't have to be like every second you write a check, it appears in your accounting system. That's a little much for most of us. But a weekly or monthly accounting process that is constantly kept up is much preferable to someone who throws it together at the year end for the tax return. That way you're able to see the score, you're able to see what's happening as you move along, and so you can adjust. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm doing just about anything, let's just go back to the weight. If I'm trying to lose weight, and I try to do what I think is right, things go on. But if I only weigh once a year, what is the chance of me losing weight? For me personally, it's a really low. But so it's just about having some milestones and keeping score so you know what's going on. And one of the first ways is in your accounting system. So before I've spent triple of what I expected to in office supplies, I'd like to know when I've spent what I expected to, so I can stop there, or I can adjust and say, hey, who's going nuts with the office supplies? So you can make an adjustment while you can still save yourself. It doesn't go too far. So the real-time accounting makes that work. And it depends on where you are in your business. If you are a one-person business and there's not a whole lot of sales and you're just getting started, probably weekly accounting is too much for you. One, it would be a little bit expensive, either in time, money, or both. And but a monthly accounting would help. You need to know where your sales are, where your expenses are, and how you're going along. We've been doing an almost real-time accounting for our clients for a good long time. And it's an interesting thing. So we focus on the clients that have that more ongoing, more transactional business so they can see it very often. But we've noticed a human tendency. Can you imagine people being human? If they feel like this is my impression. If our clients feel like we're taking care of their accounting, it is very tempting for them never to look at it, ever. We've tried putting it online so it was easy for them. And I think, like all of us, one more system, one more thing to learn is too much. So what we're doing now is we're sending frequent reports. And if people want them more often, we can send them more often. But we really want to encourage that. So if you're one of our clients, feel free to talk to us. We can set you up where you can get in your system and see it more often, or we can get you on a more frequent reporting schedule. But we feel like it's really crucial for you to know what the score is of your finances, what's going on. It also helps you answer questions, and all while things are still super fresh. So, so you get the monthly accounting. Let's say you get the monthly or the weekly accounting reports, and they sit on your desk. You can probably imagine it's not going to do anything. It's kind of like the scale in my bathroom. Unless I actually step on it, we don't know really what's going on. So you have to pick up the report and look at it. And we have found that it really is helpful to have more people than just you look at it, if you possibly can. If you're a really small business, or you are not ready to share financial information with other people on your team, which is totally understandable, we're happy to set up a meeting with you and go through your financial reports with you. It's a lot of fun, and we all learn a lot. When we look at the financial reports initially, we're looking for, was anything missed? Does it look like we paid rent this month, or we paid it twice? What's going on with that? Was that on purpose? Or questions like that. Why did payroll double this month? What's going on? Just those kind of just obvious, where you stand back and you look month by month and you just compare just for, does this even make sense? Is this reasonable? Is this reasonable? And your team, if you're ready to share the financial work with them, your team can really help with some of those things. One, they might have been involved in the thing that caused something, or they might have ideas. A lot of times they bring so much to the table that never crosses your mind. And it can be really strengthening to help have other people help look at things and get the machine where it's working better and better, the machine of your business. Then once you've decided if there's questions or oversight, you can delegate some of that work to the team. Maybe your salesperson needs to go figure out what is happening with sales. Maybe somebody who's running the front petty cash account, and suddenly petty cash has gone wild. They can follow up and bring you information on those situations so that those can be remedied while they're just small problems. Okay. Doing this with the accounting is going to help you manage the business as you go, and have the information that you need in order to make management decisions. A lot of us have gone a pretty good way in our business just by the seat of our pants. I know I did. the accounting was done and all of that, but I didn't have time to look at it, or that was my perception. There's money in the bank. I'm just going to keep going. I got to keep working. But math is interesting, and you can find out so many things if you just look at what your numbers are doing. So that's our first step, is to get that real-time accounting going. Then the next step is to weekly to set up some other reporting that reports on other aspects of your business, like how many new customers or potential new customers called this week. That lets me judge my advertising, or maybe how many became customers, or how many made appointments, or how many actually had sales, who walked in the door, what was the amount of sales per customer if you're retail, what's the longevity of a customer, how long are they staying if you're doing monthly work for them, is anybody referring? Are you getting referral business in? And if so, how much? And if your battery is going out on your phone during the webinar, that would be a good statistic to know. I'm so sorry. Oh, goodness. Okay, we will have to cut that part out. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to be holding my phone on the battery, so this is fun. Excuse me just 1 minute while I fix this up.
Sherry, it's all about being able to adapt.
Thank you.
That's what we're doing. You're welcome.
Yay. Isn't it nice
Making it work.
It's flexibility and all those things. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Thank you, Alexa.
You're welcome.
All right. What else might be helpful? Another thing that is helpful is just, where are the credit cards? Are we increasing in credit card debt? Are we decreasing? Are we paying it off all the time like we intend to? That kind of thing. So you in your business and your team can figure out those key touch points that would be very helpful to know. A lot of times we learn key touch points by having a giant disaster. And then we say, oh, so kind of like being on this webinar, oh, next time I will be sure I have my phone plugged in before the webinar. And I would have a report before I sat down at the webinar. Is my phone ready to go? But as you learn things, what we do in our business, when we have something that goes awry, or a disaster, or a slight smoldering, we try to look at it as a learning opportunity and say, okay, we did this happened, it actually happened. What are we going to do in our systems to make sure this never happens again? So we've created checklists, we've created review, where someone else reviews the work to make sure that things are done the way we expect them to be. We've put in place things to make everything go the right way, the way it's supposed to, until the next oops, and then we go fix that one. But we try to look at it in a positive sense and use it as a learning experience. So those reports, you're going to have to, your team would have to do those yourselves, create those yourselves. And so you have those to look at on a frequent basis. And I really think probably weekly for most of those, but you're going to have to use your judgment as well to see, how often you would want those to be. Just depends on the kind of report, really. On this review, typically it's going to be the owner or the CFO or whoever's in charge of the results for that particular area. It really is helpful to get your team working on these kind of things, because they bring so much more to the table. And that's why you have the variety in your business of people. Is everybody has a talent and everybody has a focus. It's a little different than yours, and they see things and they talk to customers in a different way than you do. And they'll be able to be helpful there as well. Okay. I'm going to have to turn the page on the slides. All right. The next thing is how to document your intentions and expectations. So we've talked about the profit first methodology and using the small plate theory in implementing that methodology. Just in case you haven't been with us before, profit first is based on the thought that typical accounting is revenue minus expenses gives the profit, and the owner gets to take whatever's left over. And Mike Michalowicz, the I guess inventor of profit first, really feels like that's backwards. That leaves the owner working for the business, and the business really should be a help to the owner. So the way he says is, we're going to do revenue and then take profit first, hence the name, and then whatever's left over is what that business has to live on. It keeps the business lean. It keeps you from, or it keeps the business owner from plowing the profits back into the business, because really the business is there to serve the owner and create a better living arrangement for the owner. That was the whole point of going into the business, not so the owner could serve the business. So with that in place, with that thought process, I'm assuming you buy into it a little bit, that it would be nice for you to get the profit first and let the business be able to live lean and mean on what's left. The way we're going to do that is we're going to set up several bank accounts, and this is where the small plate theory comes in. Mike was watching television and saw a guy talking about going on a diet, and that you should just use a smaller plate. If you have a bigger plate, you'll fill it up. Most people will fill it up. So if you have a smaller plate, it makes you psychologically feel like you've had more food. You feel fuller, and so that's a good way to go about minimizing what you eat. And the same theory for the business. So the way that's done, it's similar to the old envelope system where you might take money, you have this much money, and you split it between the different categories. And when it's time to pay, you pull the money out of that envelope and you pay your gas bill, or, you get to shop, or whatever it is that you do in order to keep money that you want to accomplish using the envelope system. So it's cutting the finances into small pieces and managing each of those small pieces. So we would set up bank accounts for profit, for savings, for operating expenses, for owner taxes, and then possibly for larger reoccurring items for payroll or rent expense, or to save up for a capital investment. You have to look around. If you haven't set this up already, you have to look around and find a bank that's not going to charge you tons of fees for having all these accounts. And we can get into how to do that, how to set it up and how to move money getting together. But you could also read the book or listen to the Audible of Mike Michalowicz's Profit First book to give you a head start. It's very enlightening and very freeing. So we've got all these bank accounts set up, and that takes a little while typically for most people, because you have to have money to put in each of those accounts. And I'm sorry, I'm not holding the battery quite right. So awesome. Okay. So you have to have enough money to put some into each of the bank accounts and kind of get it rolling. So most companies, it's taking a couple, maybe 2 or 3 months to get everything in and everything running. We can help you decide which ones are the crucial ones to start with, and how to get that moving for your business, because everyone's a little bit different. Then what do we do? We've got the accounts set up. We've got 6 accounts set up, or 5, or however many you end up starting. How do I decide what money to put in there? The basic theory is there should be a certain percentage to put in each category. So the way I operate it is we have one account that's just operating income, and that's where all our income comes into. And that makes it easy for me to see the income and get a good feel for the flow. It's just crucial to have a feel for the flow of your business and know, what days are there's more coming in and what days there's not, because that lets you kind of adjust that as you need to, or work on that area. So maybe you have some more coming in the middle of the month, if it's like that. Okay, so then from the income every month, the first thing you're going to do is take a certain percentage and put it in your profit account. And this is my favorite part. The profit account is just for the owner or owners. It's the rules are you never ever put that money back in the business. And that's where you get to take distributions from on a quarterly basis, because it belongs to the owner. And that's the part over and above you being an employee. And that's why you went into this. That's why you stay up late at night. That's why you have risked a lot of your assets and time in order to do this. So that's the first one. And it really is fun. So I usually say just start with 1%. So you get income, and on a regular basis, I think Mike says you should do it twice a month. I do it whenever I need a lift. Slow day, bad day. Why am I even doing this? Okay. Usually it's because I like to help people, or I like to see people, or I like to do my job. But some days I don't really like any of it. And it's nice to go, okay, well, let's go look at the income, remind myself of that. So you take 1% of the income and put it in the profit account. How awesome is that? Automatic 1%. As you go along, you're going to increase that percentage up to a good percentage. 15 or 20% would be really nice. And that gives that account where it's saved and it's yours. Okay, then after you've taken the profit, I'm going to go back just a second. A lot of times, if there's credit card debt or some other debt that needs to be solved, the profit is not distributed as you go. It's used to pay off the debt. And once the debt is paid off, then it's, and you still put it in profit, but then the owner can begin taking distributions. So it's encouraging, but it does give you a way, not out of the regular operations, to pay off that debt, to pay off the mistakes of yesterday, for goodness sakes, and try to never make those again. That's encouraging to get those behind you, so you're not paying for those. Okay, so take let's say 1% to savings to get started. And then how much is going to go for operating expenses? You're going to determine a percentage. And it's a percentage that's reasonable. And I don't know if you saw my slide a minute ago when I I don't know if you saw my slide a minute ago when I and advanced ahead, but there are percentages that should go to each category depending on the size of the business. And these percentages, I just do it really based on income. It's easy, it's clean for me. But it can get a lot more complicated. And we'd be happy to talk to you about that and how to set that up. It's simple, I think, is a good way to go. So you will determine what percentage you want to go to operating expenses, what percent you want to go to the owner taxes. And that's an awesome thing too, because if you didn't have this business, you wouldn't be paying taxes on that extra profit piece. So the part is allocated to those owner taxes so that the business is taking care of that for you. That's why you got the business, so it can work for you. So that's a lovely part too. There are, you're going to have a percentage you put to payroll, assuming you have some payroll going on, rent, what's reasonable, capital equipment, that kind of thing. And the profit first methodology has, I'm going to go to the next page, the percentages. It depends on the size of your business. And a little bit depends on what kind of business you have. If you're a retail business and you can run it with 2 people, it's different than a service business that requires the labor of 5 people in order to produce. So all of those things are part of it. On this slide, you can see at the top, there's the real revenue range is in gray, and that's how much revenue you're making. And that is, the real revenue is before you get paid, whether it's profit or your salary. So that's what the business is doing without having to give any money to you. Then, so you take the real revenue, and let's say if you have, if you're making less than $250,000, we're just going to go through this chart a little bit to give you a way to read it. If you're making less than $250,000, taking a 5% profit should work fine. The owner's pay should be half. of the 250. That would be it. That would be your target. It doesn't have to be that way to start off with. If you're just starting to use this, a lot of people have to kind of creep up to it or adjust some other things. It takes a little while, but that would be your target percentage. Taxes would be 15% and your operating expenses would be 30%. So you would go look at your income. You would take, assuming you're at these percentage, 5% of whatever income you've got in for that period of time and move it to profit. You would take 50% and move it to your owner's pay. That just like that, just go down the list. And it's so wonderful with banks online now and everything. Most banks, it's super easy to do those transfers and just keep everything rolling. So you have things simple. It's simple. And that honestly is what I like about it. It's easy for me to do. It brings me joy. It's not a chore. And I'm in control of how much is allocated to each section. I know exactly what's coming out of the accounts and I'm in good shape that way. If something, let's say my operating expense account gets down to $100 and it's not that time of the month, it's not supposed to be that low. I have a good idea. Something's gone wrong. And I am set up. That's my fire alarm that's gone off. And everybody can get up out of their chairs and orderly go outside. No, we can stop and say, what's going on? How can we stop this before we have a problem? And it just keeps things in control. It keeps me as an owner in control I'm not becoming a slave to this process. It's simple. It's easy. I can do it in a few minutes a day or a few minutes a week. And it just protects us from going outside the lines that I have determined ahead of time based on this methodology. You can adjust these percentages as you want to. These are suggestions, but I've found them to be pretty good. They're pretty solid. So that would be the next thing we would do, is set up those percentages to delegate to each account. Okay, so let's say, I guess also when we're looking at this, looking at real revenue, let's just say we're looking at real revenue. What percentages do I want to select? Because I don't know about you, but rent is steady. It's fixed cost every month. So some things you're not going to be able to decide what to do, at least not at this point. It may take a year or so to adjust. I know it's easy as a business owner to either have a too small of a location or too large of a location, just depending on the ebbs and flows of the business. So you need time to adjust those fixed costs. It may be that you're in a place that the utility bills are sky high and there's nothing you can do about it. Some repairs or some additional insulation needs to be put in, and you can begin to save for that if that's your responsibility in order to bring that down. That's why I like this. They're targets. There's something better for us to work toward to get in a better position where we should be. I found it really interesting when I first saw this, that from 0 to 250, the owner should make 50%. I had no idea how much I should be making. No idea. And that was a real kick to me because it wasn't even close what I was making, because I was feeding the business so much. It was taking most all the money. I was plowing the profits back in, and I just love that. Almost everybody says it, and it feels virtuous. I'm sacrificing. I'm doing this entrepreneur thing, but that's okay for the first 6 months, maybe a year. But after that, it's not good, because then you become a slave to the business. So that was really freeing to me. And the rule of thumb I've been taught now is you shouldn't go into business and take all that risk. I mean, we're risking being sued. We're risking all kinds of things. But you shouldn't even do that unless you're going to make around $150,000, because you could do better if you just got a job more often than not. So, and I know the job work, none of us wants to work for anybody else anymore, but this also has to make sense for us and our family. We don't want to be working and putting our finances in a position to have a problem if we're not making enough money out of it. So it just, and you may not be, but like I did, you can adjust. And I tell you, these percentages make it a lot more fun. It just helps. It helps you have a reasonable way to decide how much should I make. Now, on the other hand, there are people that think they should make, 75%. And they wonder why they're always scrambling for payroll or why they can't pay their bills. Well, that gives you that boundary there too, an upper boundary. The owner really should be getting half, and then and that's at that 0 to 250 range, and there should be profit, and that's where the extra comes from. But you have to have profit in order to do that, and those credit cards have to be paid off. So all of those things add to that and make a difference. All right. So Alexa, does anybody have any questions at this point? I feel like I've talked a lot. I'm gonna give you a rest for a minute.
Yeah. I don't see anything in the chat, but I really did like the target amounts, because I can only imagine being an overwhelmed, first-time business owner trying to get a handle on just the newness of income and expense and trying to make sure that they're getting paid. And so to have these targets is, I think, really helpful to be able to have something to shoot towards or around. It just gives a really good idea for those that have kind of been just trying to swim and keep their head above water and figure it all out. So, and I think this also is helpful when you were talking about the real-time accounting. If you're going to be opening up these multiple bank accounts and kind of transferring back and forth and keeping an eye on things, that real-time accounting is going to be extremely crucial in being able to do that, so you can see where you're at and make decisions according.
That's good. Yeah, you're exactly right. And Alexa, I know you understand. When you first start, it takes a while to get this all set up and running the way you want it to be. It's a little bit of a hassle, a little bit of trouble, but can you see how once you get it all going that it is very simple for the owner?
Absolutely. And you just have a better feel for where the money is going, what it's specifically for, instead of seeing, a large deposit come in and getting, overly excited. You can have a plan for that money and know that it's going to be spent wisely and not just kind of fly out as quickly as it flew in. And
right.
So, and I know you've been using Profit First, but how long would you say, from the time of beginning and opening up all those accounts to now? I mean, what point were you really comfortable with the process and felt good about how it was working for you?
Yeah, good question. I remember, like I said, I was feeding the business everything. And so I didn't have a good stash. So it took about 6 months to have those things, each account where it had enough money in it. So it was rolling correctly. So it just flowed. But I will say, I don't know if it was a year or a year and a half. I had lived on just enough money for a long, long time. I know you were here and you saw that. I had many years where blue jeans were my uniform because I knew I couldn't spend more money than that. It was just to keep it tight at home. But the business was doing fine. So as I switched over, the business had more cushion in it. It was still taken care of just fine. But I was able to, I think in a year and a half, it might have been 2 years, but a year and a half, save up $40,000 for a down payment on my home. That's a huge switch. It's a huge switch. And it just made all the difference for me.
Absolutely. That's really exciting. And I know there are, a number of people that want instant gratification these days, but being able to see the process and how it works, and if you stick with it and are responsible and diligent, that putting in the work will really, you can reap the benefits. And they'll be long-standing. They won't be, just short-lived. So
exactly.
That's really encouraging.
Yeah, that's good. Good conversation, Alexa. Thanks. That's great.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. What are we going to talk about next? Okay. When you start doing these percentages, the best way to go about it that I have found is pick a normal month, not a humongous revenue month, not your worst month, but a month, a number for the real revenue that you feel like you could count on every month. Pretty steady. And then we start from that. That also gives you a pretty steady number to allocate your payroll and your office expenses. So we can do this, and any extra, where does it go? It goes to profit. But you'll adjust that way. What happens though? I know we've run across businesses that they know their rent's too high. I can't do anything. I am here. I've made a huge investment in this place. My clients know to come here. There's no way I can move. What do I do if rent is way out of, or any category is way out of line? What do I do? It could even be owner's pay. Maybe I have a house that's way too expensive for what I'm making right now. What do I do? Well, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to make adjustments, and you have to do what's practical for the business. Let's say somebody who's paying way too much rent. Can you just start thinking of what we can do? Can we reduce the space at all? Would the landlord let us do that? Can we sublet to anybody? Can we close a location and maybe be able to pay out the lease for less than we would have if we'd have stayed? Can we expand our offerings and fill up that space? Maybe we hire more, maybe we have more retail, maybe there's all sorts of things you can do, but that's the whole idea, is that we're trying to get to a target. We're trying to meet a goal, and we have something to shoot at now. And there's all kinds of ideas and ways we can do it. And you may feel like one thing is impossible. Okay, so I'll concede. Maybe one thing is impossible for the next 5 years. Maybe you just signed the lease and it's twice too big. Well, you're going to have to make an adjustment. Maybe that's where half your profit goes, is to pay off your mistake. That's okay. As long as I'll take the hit, as long as I can get over past my mistake. So if that's what it has to be, then that's what it has to be. But that when you've finished paying off the mistake, that it's yours free and clear, and you've earned it. You've gotten yourself there honestly, and the business is healthy at that point. So it's just all a matter of working it. But this gives something to work toward without being a taskmaster. And that's the thing that really pleases me. Some people are going to want to really do this to the nth degree and make it every month and everything. I don't take that hard of an approach toward it. These are targets. And I'm really strict on profit, honestly. But the other things, I'm just working. One thing is that I failed to mention was when you get past the credit cards, when you get things working well, I also allocate the same amount that I have to profit. I allocate that to my savings, and that's cool. That's just awesome, because I didn't have a cushion for the longest time. I spent it all up front. I did the typical thing and cashed in my retirement, and in order to finance the business. And so we were tight. And so being able to put money in savings and profit at the same time, it's the most magnificent feeling. It's awesome. So it's probably been 4 or 5 years I've been doing that. So I encourage you, if you're not doing that, this is a really awesome way to go. Do you have any questions about that part, Alexa? Or do you see?
There is a question that I see. Tomorrow being July, is there, so say there's a a client who would want to start this profit first and opening the accounts and all of that stuff. We're already midway through 2021. Is there any right or wrong time to go ahead and get this up and running, started? Should we wait till next quarter? I know you had just mentioned, trying to find a month that was quote unquote normal, to go ahead and start this. But between now and the end of the year, is there any specific time that someone should shoot for if they want to get this up and running?
Oh, awesome question. Awesome question. When I was talking about the normal, I was more talking about something to base your initial percentages off of. Not that you would wait for a specific month, but that's awesome clarification. So I think the sooner the better. I do. This is a monthly situation. There's a new month every 30 something days, right? So it gives us a chance to start over, start fresh, and get it going. It is helpful if you can read or listen to Mike McAllister's Profit First, at least the first half. Toward the back of it, it gets a little detailed, but the first half for sure needs to be. I've listened to it maybe 4 or 5 times. It just is so helpful, and he's funny. He's a nut, and I have been told that he's not. People don't want their children to hear it, so they don't listen to him in the car. So I hadn't heard that before, but I haven't had a child in the house for a long time, so maybe my sensibilities are down. He's not awful, but he's a nut. Anyway,
that makes it fun.
It does make it fun. To me, my brain needs some crazy things to think, to remember, to keep a picture in my head. And so he's definitely crazy, but crazy in that brilliant way. So I would, if I was me, I would listen and I would start setting up the bank accounts, because just setting up empty bank accounts with $10 each in them, you haven't moved really, but you've moved forward. You haven't caused any problem. And you could even do that for the first month or the first week or something to get going. But really the key thing is to start now. If you think this could help you at all, and I just don't know any company that it wouldn't help. But also, we are offering a foundations class, and we have been going over kind of the things that you can do yourself. And a lot of people can do these themselves and pull these together and get them done and get their business where it needs to be. Others of us are so busy and just don't have the time to sit down and get this all orchestrated. Or maybe don't have the space to get it orchestrated, just the time in the day carved out. So we're offering a foundations class. Class is not the right word, but a course. And it lasts for 3 months. And we will walk with you and hold you accountable for getting the next step and the next step and the next step done, and get them set up just right for your company. And we're more than happy to do that as well. We have, I think I'm still sharing my screen, right? This is the
yes,
website where you would go contact us and let us know, or just call the office if you want to. We're happy to, we're happy to walk people through that. And I know I didn't have somebody walk through with me for Profit First, but I have for other initiatives that I've taken in my business. And it's just made all the difference to know I have to show up by, let's just say Tuesday, and have these things done. A lot of times just the accountability puts what you have planned to get done up on the list with everything else that you need to get done. So if you're interested in that, we'd love for a contact. We'll probably follow up with you by email. We just are excited that you stayed for the meeting, and that hope you got something really helpful out of it. We just wish the best success for your business going forward. So,
excellent.
Yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you, Sherry. Yeah, that was great. And if you're listening to this webinar, and if you've got any questions about first steps, or especially the foundation program, if you're interested in it, we would love to hear from you. So follow that link and contact us, and we will get you taken care of.
Thank you so much for coming. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Bye-bye.